Yo, bro. This is Insidious Purple. What up? Alright, so now we are back. We're here to do another showcase of another character on Mass Effect Andromeda. And I'm happy to show off the Krogan Mercenary. Okay, a little bit about the build. Actually, I'm going to switch this up. Alright, so what I have here. Alright, flamethrower. Basically, with the flamethrower, all I have is utility rather than damage. So recharge speed, damage over time, just increase the damage I do as I use the flamethrower, and I also have damage output from enemies will be reduced by 50%. Yeah. Fortify, I always go for the explosion. That's what I feel is most important. Leave flat cannon at 1. I just can't see the utility in this. Only thing it does is stun them for a little bit, and that's pretty much it. Doesn't really do much damage. Won't accomplish much. It's unfortunate. I guess you can stun a room full of enemies with it, but anyway. The only thing important here is defense debuff per shot. That's the most important thing. All this other stuff is good as well. I would definitely recommend getting more melee damage. Melee is very good, especially with the Juggernaut shield. 75% increase in melee damage. That's really good. So the whole point of this build, right, is to set enemies on fire, shoot them, and then melee them to death. That's pretty much it. And then when you find yourself in trouble, explode your shield, your fortified shield, and that will cause an electric current to literally stun the enemies. So allowing you to sit there and shoot them or to run away. So that's just more utility out of the fortify. And you could go for defense, but I don't think there's enough defense that you can get out of any of those abilities that'll make it so that you can super armor through most of those shots. That's just the reality. But anyway, with that being said, we are going to go ahead and move on to the gameplay. Oh yes. Oh yes, yes. I would recommend the equalizer. The equalizer, or some kind of fast shooting weapon. Before you get the damage debuff per shot, I would recommend using like the Talon or something of that nature. But once you get that, you can move on to a faster a weapon with a higher rate of fire. That's what I want to say. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the gameplay, and we're about to get this set on fire.
Alright. Okay, so this is the gameplay with the Krogan Mercenary. Alright, so like I said, playing this guy is very specific. You're going to use your flamethrower to set people on fire. I'm going to show it to you right now. As you can see, I only used it in a short burst, and then I used my Fortify Explosion in order to stun enemies. Alright, so you want to use the flamethrower until you basically set them on fire. They're going to do that, oh, I'm on fire animation, and then that'll give you time to shoot the crap out of them. Now, if you got something like the Talon, it shouldn't be too hard to kill them after setting them on fire. You can kill them in a couple of shots. Even if you use up an entire clip, you'll probably kill them. Especially if it's a raider, if it's a Krogan, or if it's any other armored enemy, it'll probably take more than just one clip. But raiders, snipers, without their shield, of course, and the Dooney, I think that's how you say it, they will die. Alright, full clip of the Talon, especially. Yeah, and you should be using the extended mag on the Talon if you have it. If you don't have it, just keep buying basically the advanced packs. You'll eventually get it. Like I said, I'm going in for some melee. The Krogan melee is really pretty good, actually. So when I max out his build, I'm gonna fully max out Rage. And that's because the Krogan Melee has a modifier at rank 5 that your melee will increase by 5%. I'm sorry, by 2% to a maximum of 24% extra melee damage for each melee hit that you do on an enemy. So that's really good. It really increases your melee damage. So it's either 2% or 5%. So I'm gonna have to double check on that. But anyway, the point is it increases your melee damage. It's really good, especially if you get all the other melee modifiers. So pretty much any Krogan is really viable for a melee build. It's just a matter of if they have good survivability at that point. So here I'm going to use my Fortify. Alright, stun a couple of enemies. Of course, I go down. Luckily, my bro's behind me to back me up. And then I'm going to set this guy on fire. Burn him just enough to set him on fire so that he does that animation. And then I go in for the kill, and I get my flamethrower back quicker because I didn't use it for the entire duration. That's what that's about, you know. Just burn them a little bit, and then you can constantly get your flamethrower back, constantly have enemies in that animation. It works very well against the Outriders, not so much against the Revenant, and not very much well against the Cat, especially more specifically against the enemies that are shielded, like the Anointed and whatever the shotgun one is. And oh my god, the guy in the bubble, it doesn't work that well against him either. Alright, so just keep that in mind. He's really good for moving around because of the Fortify explosion. You also get a lot of defense. You get additional defense from the Fortify, so you can take a lot of hits too, as long as the Fortify is up. And then once you break the Fortify, you can kind of take cover a little bit. It comes back really fast. It's less than 5-second cooldown, so it's a really good power for stunning enemies, increasing your defense, and that's pretty much all there is to say about this power. It does work. It does excellent work. Alright, so now we have a hack, and I can show you this power is really good for you know, just burning the enemy as they come after you. You know, like especially when they start getting in the circle. I will use the Fortify explosion to stun enemies in the circle. Then use my flamethrower in order to get some extra damage off, some burning damage, some damage per second. That damage per second, bro. It's really good. Damage per second has always been good. And then I'll just shoot him down with my gun. Right now I'm using the Equalizer with incendiary ammo. Pretty much he doesn't really have any way to detonate explosions, but he can set people up for explosions. He has the Fortify explosion, which sets them up for tech explosions, and then he has the flamethrower, which is kind of difficult to do, but it can be done. You can get fire explosions out of it, but they just need to be burning. And then at the same time, your companions need to throw a detonator move at that enemy while they're burning. So it can happen. It's just a little bit difficult to coordinate. Okay, and I also have the flat cannon. I didn't really put anything in the flat cannon. It's just kind of there, but it can do some good things. That's why I'm going to the boxes in order to get my flat cannon ammunition back, because what I can do with that is I just expend both of my flat cannon rounds in order to stun a large group of enemies all at the same time. So that's the only real use out of flat cannon. It doesn't do a lot of damage. It doesn't set them up for explosions. It doesn't detonate explosions. It doesn't do a lot. Like it's kind of underwhelming. Only thing it really does is stun enemies. Well, particularly enemies that don't have armor or shields. So that's really unfortunate. But if you just throw it out there, you can possibly stun a raider or one of these stupid dogs, you can do some extra damage. You know, it's there. Why not use it? You know, use everything to your advantage. And right now you know, he's really good at, you know, holding the line, especially with his flamethrower. He can get off a lot of damage. See that? See how I was able to stun the crap out of that raider? And that's really the only use for flat cannon I can really think of, you know. Here I am using my flamethrower to, and then there goes my fortify shield explosion. I was stunning the crap out of them, and then I used my fortify shield explosion to stun them some more, and that gave me an opportunity to go up there and just finish them off with melee attacks, because I wasn't doing any real damage with my powers or with my gun. The enemies in this game just have so much HP. And melees really, for the most part, they do more damage than a lot of the weapons in the game, which is unfortunate. Okay, there I'm trying to jump my fat ass up. Okay, there we go. And we got some enemies in here. So, like I said, I really do think that the Krogan Mercenary is a really, really cool character. He works, he gets work in, he gets the work done, and it is very, very impressive to me. That is, he is definitely not the worst character in the game. He has some really good powers, really good things going for him. There are characters in the game that really can't do what he does. They can't do the damage that he does. He can't stun the enemies like he does. Because the main thing is you have the flamethrower, and basically its recharge speed is based on how long you use it, not the fact that you actually used it. So just from you using it, you're not going to get the full recharge speed, which is what really is the most appealing thing about the flamethrower. This is why the Krogan Mercenary really does work. Okay, I'm getting meleeed to death by these freaking Krogans, and they're not dying at all. They just have so much freaking HP, and he finally takes me out right before he dies. It's ridiculous. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and use my flamethrower to stun the crap out of these enemies, blow my fortify explosion up, and then I'm gonna get that in very shortly here. I'm gonna get my fortify back, which is really, basically the Krogan Mercenary he can keep up in the fight. You know, he can keep fighting just because his powers recharge so quickly, depending on how you use them. If you use the flamethrower to the max duration that you can, you're gonna have a pretty long recharge speed, fairly long, and two of my partners are down. So it's all about getting a little bit of that flamethrower off, you know, just to get the burn up, and then going in and finishing them off with melee. Like I said earlier, the enemies in this game have way too much HP for you to be trying or even attempting, you know, to just kill them with the flamethrower or trying to shoot them to death. Usually that's a lot more difficult. Okay, so it's unfortunate, but you know, the powers are underwhelming in this game. BioWare did do a recent live stream saying that they would try to look at some of the weapons in the game and try and look at some rebalancing. That's not promising that they might rebalance, that the rebalances will be completely satisfactory, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. But like I said, even in this condition, the Krogan Mercenary can hold his own. He really can. Like I said, he's best against the outlaws, especially mainly because of all the armor that they have. And then he's probably worse against the Revenant, and then finally he's like, probably every character would have a hard time with the Ket. Every character has a hard time with the Ket, probably. So I mean, the Outlaws are the easiest faction so far. They buffed the sharpshooters, but the Outlaws are still the easiest. Nothing to say. Nothing really changed on that part. So, hey, Outlaws are still the easiest. But with the burning damage and the recharge speed, man, this is really good. And plus, enemies that are burning, enemies that I set on fire, they do 30% less damage. So that makes it a great utility. That really helps you survive better. Especially, all I have to do is set enemies on fire, and then they're doing less damage. That's the end of it. They're doing less damage. That's all there is to say. Here I use a missile because everything's just getting really crazy, and these guys need to get this device back there. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna start blowing shit up. And here's another thing about the Krogan Mercenary. With that flamethrower, matter of fact, with all of his abilities, he can really lock down a room. Look how I'm spreading my flamethrower. Look how I use my flat cannon. I'm just spamming my flat cannon. I'm getting control of the area of the entire room. I'm taking command inside this room. It is impressive, and I'm blowing up my fortified field and stunning a bunch of enemies around me. I have a lot of area of effect going on here, so it's really impressive what the Krogan Mercenary can do. So this is a really good character. I would recommend him. You have to use him a specific way. If you're just using the Krogan Mercenary just to use the flamethrower for damage, it's not gonna work. It's different from in Mass Effect 3, where the flamethrower in that game it was insane. It could kill armored enemies so quickly. It could kill any type of enemy quickly. It did enormous damage. The only thing that could really stop Flamer was shields. Enemies with shields. Phantoms were an issue. But as far as that, you had the Acolyte pistol where you could just strip shields. So it really wasn't a big deal, actually. But in this game, the powers are very underwhelming, and unfortunately the flamethrower is no exception. It does really good damage. It does some decent damage. I guess I wouldn't call it really good damage, but the whole thing is, its powers are more utility than actually used for killing the enemy. So that's what I use it for. I use it to stun the enemies and make them, go into that I'm burning animation, like I've said several times before. And once they get in that animation, this is critical. Once they get in that animation, that's when you can go in and get some real damage in, finish them all. I recommend melee, get a melee modifier, and that's how you would really defeat enemies in there. And then when you find yourself surrounded by enemies, just explode your fortify field. That's pretty much all there is to the Krogan Mercenary. Again, there might be other ways to play them. This is the way that I found works a lot. I've had a lot of success with this, just running around, flaming, and then exploding my shield. Well, if you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. This has been Insidious Purple, and I am out. See ya.